You're listening to The Weekend Take. And now your host, Sean Schaefer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Weekend Take. I'm your host, Sean Schaefer, and with me this week is Mike Zupan, who is a creator of Byte-Size Impressions, as well as Byte-Size Cinema, longtime writer for DVD Talk, and writer for Minecraft Explorer and Fortnite Explorer. Mike, how you doing this week?
I'm doing excellent, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. Tell us a little bit about Byte-Size Impressions and Byte-Size Cinema.
Well, I mean, it stems back to DVD Talk first and foremost. I started, I've always been interested in film. I've ever since I was young, I've collected tons of, home video releases. Every step of the way, I was always adapting to the next big thing and spending way too much money on stuff that I probably shouldn't have been buying. But yeah, at that point in the mid-2000s, I was like, I really want to get into putting my opinions out there in a format on a platform where it makes sense, where people are going to see that and respond to it. I've always been a writer, so that intrigued me very much. So I did that for a very long time, but I felt like after doing it for so many years, I was like, I'm sort of starting to fall into this trap, this groove of I feel like I'm writing the same things over and over and over again, even though it's about different films, which means maybe I'm not diversifying my writing enough. Maybe just doing reviews is I need a little bit of a break. I'm also a big gamer, so I went off in the meantime and I created Byte-Size Impressions, where I just basically write opinion pieces about video game industry things. Occasionally I stream, occasionally I do a podcast, but it's more about the opinion piece stuff that I throw up on the website. But of course, DVD Talk is sort of a reflection of how the film industry, or at least the home video aspect of it, has been responding to market trends over the years. So these days, the clicks on the website are very low. The screeners that we get sent from the studios, we don't get as many as we used to. Like, things have really changed in that respect. So I don't get to write as much of the films that I want to write about these days. So I said, well, Byte-Size Impressions is there. I'll start a sister site, Byte-Size Cinema. That way, any of the films that I don't get to write about for Byte-Size Impressions, I can do over there. Also, films I don't get to write about for DVD Talk. So that site exists there as a sister site. It's easily accessible from the top of my website, which is bytesizeimpressions.com.
And just to be clear, that's Byte with a Y.
Yes, Byte with a Y, all one word, bytesizeimpressions.com. So I was doing the video game writing thing, and then after a while, it's just sort of making friends who had similar interests, and that's how I sort of got picked up to write for the Minecraft and the Fortnite Explorer magazines that you mentioned at the top of the show as well. So cinema has always been my primary passion, though. So yeah, here I am.
Now I know you got something coming over the horizon as well, right? As a writer?
Yes. This is only going to be over in the Italian market, which is kind of weird because it had to be translated for that market. But I wrote a book for pretty much the biggest Italian publisher over on that side of the globe. It's a Crash Bandicoot book. I can't really say much more about that. It's supposed to be coming out tentatively in February, but dates have changed as they often do, and it may change again, but it's in the can. It's been translated. I think they're just looking for the right time to release it. My question was, when they wanted this, was like, why Crash Bandicoot in 2018 at the time that I was starting to write it? And apparently it's still very popular over there. And I guess now with the Crash remaster that came out last year and the Crash Team Racing remaster that's coming out this year, I guess it makes sense. I'm hoping that they'll say, hey, this is kind of maybe relevant enough elsewhere. Maybe we'll actually release the English version that you wrote elsewhere in the world. That would be nice.
Are there any other titles or properties in the gaming world? Like you said, you've written for Minecraft Explorer and for Fortnite Explorer. You have this Crash Bandicoot book. What are some of your favorites that, if you given the opportunity, you would write about?
I would love to write about The Legend of Zelda. Legend of Zelda is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. Yeah, Legend of Zelda, I think, would be my dream project with Sea of Thieves just behind it.
And just quickly marrying the idea of video games and film, are you surprised at all that with everything else getting a big screen adaptation? I mean, we've got Sonic the Hedgehog coming out in the next year. Are you surprised that we haven't had a Legend of Zelda big screen adaptation?
I'm not entirely surprised. I mean, back in the day, they tried their hand at a Nintendo sort of video game turned film thing, and it was disastrous. I don't think anybody looks at that Super Mario Brothers movie and said, yeah, I like that movie. Yeah. Oh, that totally reminds me of the video game, Oh, and Dennis Hopper, that he was Bowser with a weird blonde haircut. I don't know. They had Goombas that were like 8 feet tall but had tiny heads. Like, I don't get it.
I think for sure if they ever did a big screen adaptation, that the creators have to be involved with the studio from the get-go.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, though, because they are working with Nintendo, the creator of Mario Brothers, or at least somebody who's been heavily involved in that franchise. They're doing a CGI Super Mario Brothers movie.
It's Universal and Illumination, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, which does frighten me a little bit because while Illumination, has done some things that I have enjoyed, they've also done some things that kind of make me seem like they're kind of just milking this style of film a bit too much, and they're kind of getting less and less funny as time goes on. So I am a little concerned, even with Nintendo being involved, because sometimes they don't even really know what gamers want, let alone as far as telling a story and filmmaking and everything like that, though. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think in 2019, because video games are widely more accepted and a lot more people play them, a lot more people understand them, including filmmakers. So hopefully when they take these properties on again, they're doing the right thing. So keep your fingers crossed.
That about wraps it up for us this week here at the Weekend Take. I want to again thank Mike Zupan for coming on to the show, and be sure to check out Byte-Size Impressions and Byte-Size Cinema. In posting the episode, I'll be sure to put links up to Byte-Size Impression website. You can also follow him on Twitter at ByteSizeImp, ByteSizeImp. Be sure to also follow the Weekend Take on Twitter at Weekend Take. We are also on Facebook and YouTube as well. Mike, thank you again for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
All right, and that wraps it up for us. So until next week, we'll see you all later.
You've been listening to The Weekend Take. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Google Play, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Visit our Patreon page to become a patron of The Weekend Take, and for as little as $1, you'll receive exclusive content and perks.